Welcome to the Sporting Mindset Show. I'm your host, Dwayne Nestor. This podcast is all about helping athletes, coaches and parents better understand the mental side of performance. Today, we're diving straight into a phrase that has probably caused a few collective winces across sporting fields everywhere. Imagine the car ride home after a tough loss. You start giving some helpful advice and boom, you're not my coach. Oh, I reckon plenty of parents have heard that one at some point. Maybe you've even had it thrown your way right after a game or a tense training session. And to be totally honest, in most cases, the child is right. You aren't their coach. Although, let's face it, the delivery of that particular message may not always be wrapped in kindness. It usually comes with a side of eye rolls and slamming car doors. But it highlights something really important. One of the biggest parts of being a great sporting parent is actually understanding your role. The tricky part is that every child wants something a little different. Some kids want detailed feedback after games. Others, they just want to lift home a snack and someone to simply tell them, geez, I loved watching you play today. That's why it can be really valuable to actually sit down together and talk about what your role as a parent looks like. And a great practical way to do it is to create a simple job description. Here's the fun part of the exercise. Both you and your child do it separately first. Sit down with two pieces of paper. Write down what you think your role is, and then have your child write down what they want your role to be. Then compare them together. I promise you, you might discover there's a pretty big gap between the two. You may think your job is to analyse their performance, give technical advice and help them improve. Meanwhile, your child's list might show they simply want you to encourage them, stay positive and be there no matter how they perform. Now keep the conversation light, have a laugh about the differences, but also take it seriously enough to make things clear. The ultimate goal here is to support your child in the way they actually need, not just in the way you think they need. Once you've got your official job description, you have to practice. At first, you might even need to remind yourself on game day by asking, am I here as coach or am I here as parent? Over time, it'll just become natural. To show you why this matters so much, I want to share a story I once heard. It's about a mum who had actually represented Australia in athletics when she was younger. As her daughter moved through little athletics and interstate competitions, this mum was fantastic. She was calm, supportive, and simply mum. But when her daughter qualified for nationals, something shifted. The stakes suddenly felt bigger. Mum accidentally switched into high performance mode. She became more intense, more instructional, and way more emotionally invested in the outcomes because she honestly thought she was helping her daughter become more professional. But it had the exact opposite effect. During the race at Nationals, the girl came around the second last bend and glanced into the crowd. She saw absolute panic on her mum's face. In that split second, everything tightened up. After the race, the girl said, when I saw mum, my legs felt like concrete. And think about that. Nothing had really changed physically, but mentally and emotionally, everything had changed, which resulted in a poor physical performance. Her mum had unknowingly changed her role and her daughter felt it immediately. Now, imagine the opposite scenario. Imagine spending years developing and practicing your role together as parent and athlete. You progress through local sports, state competitions, and eventually you arrive at that national championship. But this time, nothing changes. Your child looks into the crowd and sees the exact same calm, supportive person they've always known. No panic, no extra pressure. No sudden expectations, just pure support. The consistency, it might just end up being one of the most powerful performance advantages your child ever has. So this week, go get that job description sorted and figure out what hat your kid actually needs you to wear. Thanks for joining me on the Sporting Mindset Show. I hope today's conversation has given you something to think about, whether you're an athlete, a coach, a parent, or simply someone passionate about helping people perform and grow. One thing we certainly know for sure is that mindset matters. So as you move through your week, maybe take a moment to reflect. What mindset are you bringing into your sport, your coaching, your parenting, or your everyday life? If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe, share it with someone who'd benefit from the conversation, and continue being part of a community that values growth, learning, and high performance done the right way. I'm Dwayne Nestor, and this has been the Sporting Mindset Show.